Hey Raiders family, it's Bourkeys here and welcome to this week's preview of our Parramatta game, the Parramatta Eels round 5 tomorrow night at GIO Stadium. So guys, look, at the start of this year, if you had said that the Eels would be 3-1, I thought you'd be off your medication. I was certainly very confident that we would be 3-1, 4-0 with the run we had in the first month, but there's no way I thought the Eels would be 3-1. So it's going to prove to be a tough game. The Eels are playing some very simplistic football, but very effective football with minimal errors and some real grind and go forward in their play and sweating on mistakes from opposition teams to get their points. I'll digress further into our game plan shortly. But look, let's have a look at the Eels, and there's a couple of areas, four in particular, where I think they're really going to play the game. And it's no coincidence that a lot of their play this year has come from their new buys, particularly Blake Ferguson. So he's my number one. I know there's a history with Blake with us, a bad history, a bad feeling when he left the club. But the guy's a big winger. And what we've got to be very careful, I'm going to say this very slowly to the Raiders kickers, particularly you, Jack, because Ferguson's a right winger. You're on our left edge, and you're going to be kicking a lot to him, Jack. So listen to this very carefully. Do not kick to Blake Ferguson on the full. You must have the kicks, Jack, bounce before Blake, and those wonky kicks you do where they're bouncing all over the place. We can't afford Blake Ferguson to be getting the ball on the full from our kicks. He's too big and he's too robust, and his go-forward's probably one of the better winger go-forwards in the game, including our two wingers as well. So we've really got to be careful with kicking the ball to Blake Ferguson on the full. Gutherson and Suvi, the other winger, not a problem. But we cannot afford to give Ferguson a run-up with an easy kick on the full because of his big body, and he always tries and breaks that first line. So I think our kicking game attack has got to kick to the other winger on the bounce as well, and bring Ferguson over from his right wing into the middle of the field or closer to the left winger to get the next ruck. Because invariably, if Ferguson doesn't get that first kick or that first run from a kick, he's looking for the second or third play to bring it out of trouble. So either kick it to him on the bounce and slow him up so he doesn't have a run up, or kick it to the far winger and bring Ferguson over. He's nowhere near as effective. By that stage, second or third tackle, we should have our defensive line tight, compact and set. So if he does go to that left wing, we can hound him into that corner still and keep him there and bring their forwards over as well to exhaust more of their energy. So I'll say it again, Jack. Do not kick to Blake Ferguson on the full. They must be bounced to him. Number 2, I've gone for Junior Paulo. Junior had a great 3 years with the Raiders. Probably not as good a 2018 as he would have hoped. He was out injured for a fair bit of time. The Eels are using him not as a battering ram on the first or second tackle like we used to, but they're using him as a ball player on their right edge. So once again, our left edge with Jack and Jared and Nick. That's a bit of danger because we're still trying to find those defensive glue between Jack as a frontline defensive 5'8", that is not rushing up and making rash decisions and leaving Nick and Jared isolated. So Junior's playing that edge. So whether it's Johnny Bateman or Joseph Tarpany marking Junior one-on-one, they've got to rush Junior. They can't afford to give him time. What Junior's doing a lot is he's playing a second man out the back to Takarangi, who's then trying to position himself in line with our centre Sabi Jared, and Gutherson sweeping around the outside of Takarangi to make that extra man. So we really have to take Junior's time management off him. Now, if he does dummy, he's obviously going to go himself, and then what they'll do, quick play the ball, and Moses will wrap from the left side round to the right side to try and still take advantage of that overlap. The big thing with that is we've got to have confidence in our inside men. We can't be forced into a decision of looking inside, thinking, will he get him, when we start rushing in. So really important with Junior. Take his time management off him when he's got the ball. If he does manage to get it away, we've just got to have confidence on those outside flanks that he's going to hit his second man, and that's when we can come in and really try and close it down, either Nick or Jared coming in, do a ball and a one-on-one tackle. So, yeah, please take Junior's time off it, but he's not being used as much as a battering ram, but more a ball-playing edge player. Number 3, I've gone for Mitch Moses. Now, good and bad with Moses. He's obviously their number 1 halfback, their number 1 organiser, and their number 1 kicker. So remember what we did to the Cowboys last week with their number 1 playmaker and number 1 kicker in Michael Morgan. We hammered him out of the game. He had no effective kicks at all because our pressure from marker was exemplary. Same with Moses. He's really their only kicker. So we need to put the same type of pressure on Moses that we did with Morgan. Now, Moses is one of the biggest confidence players in the comp. His time at the Tigers, when we decimated them over a number of years, we got on top of him early and he fell apart like a Hong Kong suit. So we've really got to make sure we put a lot of pressure on Moses because he will falter if we get into his confidence early. If we don't, he starts to yap and he loves drifting left to right, right to left. The Eels don't have a very experienced 5'8" this week at all as a young kid. So Moses is going to be trying to play both sides of the ruck, left edge and right edge, to try and look for some chinks. So he's going to be tired, but we've really got to, once again, take away his time. Moses is a guy that if you stand back and ball watch, he can tear you apart. We've got to get up in his face, particularly his kicks. If we can get some mistakes from his kicks early, that's really going to affect his confidence with his playing game and his leadership. So we've really got to make sure that we're on song early with him and do not give him any room. He loves coming around the ruck and jinking inside balls, dummies, and going himself. But he likes doing that really close to the ruck or just on a tight edge. So once again, we just got to make sure our line's compact and we have confidence in our defensive line to shut it down. Number 4, I've gone for Clint Gutherson, now captain of the Eels as well. Gutherson's not the most brilliant player in the comp, but what he is, he's a glass half full guy, meaning that he tries to install plenty of confidence in his side with hand clapping, big talk, big pats on the back if they do something well. He's a leader. As I said, so he's not the most brilliant player, but he does sniff around the rucks a hell of a lot, looking for a half break either by Moses or Paulo or Ferguson. So once again, we've got to be really on song, particularly the last 10 minutes of the first half, as well as that last 10-15 minutes of the second half where Gutherson really tries to exploit some lazy forwards. Now, once again, the big thing with Gutherson, if we're deep into that second half and it's 16-12 or 18-16, he's going to try and lift his guys with a big motivational play. He loves backing up straight down the field. You'll usually find him, when he does back up, he's running straight in behind the play of the ball to back up an inside runner. So we've got to follow him across and make sure we give him no room for that inside pass if there's one on. But he's a confidence player, and he's really going to try to install a lot of enthusiasm to this Eels side tomorrow. So once again, we've got to just take away that opportunity that they're going to have a lead, that they can't really be motivated by his enthusiasm or feed off it. But he's a danger so much as he really does try and lift his side dramatically in the big moments. So let's come to our side of the play where we have to be really switched on to make sure we get this win. I think the big thing we've got to have tomorrow, once again, is maintain our line speed. I noticed when the Eels played the Roosters had awesome line speed and Parramatta did not handle it very well. They made a number of errors. Their kicking game went to crap. And they were very disorganised. So if we can take a leaf out of the Roosters book, similar to what we did to the Roosters late last year with our line speed, we flustered them. And the Eels aren't a shade in the dark in relation to the Roosters and how they can handle pressure. So I think if our line speed's really good from the first kick-off tomorrow, I think we can get a comfortable win so long as we maintain it for 80 minutes and really get up in their face and put pressure on their inexperienced second rowers and 5'8". I think there's a lot of holes there that are available if we can get in their head early with our good line speed. So I think that's most critical tomorrow, that we've got to start really quickly. I think if we can play a big, fast, robust, open game against Parramatta with a lot of confidence, I really think we can win this game well in the end. But we've got to have good speed early. Number 6, the old chestnut mistakes. Once again against the Cowboys last week, 3 or 4 mistakes in our half, which put us under the pump. Thankfully, the Cowboys didn't take advantage of it, but there's going to be sides that are. because we just cannot afford to keep making these mistakes inside our own half, particularly first and second tackle. It's okay 10 metres down from their line to make these mistakes, but we just cannot afford, as we get to these better sides we're now going to play, to be making simplistic mistakes in our half. So we need to get rid of them and get rid of them early, and make sure that we're really tight and disciplined and simplistic, that we don't have many mistakes tomorrow night. Number 7, I've gone for Josh Papali. I haven't spoken about Papa much this year because he's just doing what Papa now does. Obviously, he's the leader of our pack, and he's now got that real authoritarian approach, not just with his own team, but with the opposition, where they're really trying to muscle in on Papa to get an advantage on him early to take away our go forward. But Papa's just gone from strength to strength the last couple of years. I think the front row suits him perfectly. He's got a beautiful jink close to the line, so he very rarely has a good shot on him unless he doesn't do his step, if he just runs straight up. The thing I really want to see Papa do tomorrow, and once again this is critical, I think, if we can get on top of the Eels, is for Josh to start giving a little bit of an offload here and there. I think if he can get some second phase play going for us around that ruck, particularly with Nickel Clockstad, I think once again that'll really have the Eels looking at 6s and 7s with that broken play or that second phase play. But honestly, Josh Papali is our forward leader, particularly with our go forward. I know probably Josh Hodgson's our real forward leader, but from a go forward and getting us on the front foot, Josh Papali by a mile is the guy, or is our go-to guy. So his form this year has been fantastic for us. Number 8, I've gone for Havili. I just think this guy from the bench tomorrow will be a monster for us. Once again, our bench is far more superior than the Eels. But I've just liking the looks of Havili the last couple of weeks. He's really taking some gritty, crappy runs that need to be taken. He winds up from a mile back, but he really asks a lot of questions of the defensive line. And once again, some of these Eels forwards are big and slow, and with Havili coming on 10 minutes prior to half time, into the 10-15 minute part of the second half, I think he can really cause some damage. I wouldn't mind even seeing having a couple of runs out of dummy half now and then as well, just to ask some of those questions and bend back, and bend back those first couple of defenders from the Eels. I think the guy's a monster, and I feel he's a really good weapon for us, and he had a really good game off the bench last week, so I'm looking forward to how Havili will go again tomorrow. Number 9, I've gone for Joseph Tarpany. To be frank and honest, Joseph's first game, really a game and a quarter, had been well below his standards. The Titans game, he was so-so. He got injured in the second game against the Storm. We haven't seen him since. However, you don't make New Zealand international teams because you're a crap player. So the guy's got ability. I'm quite happy, actually, if Ricky follows the start on side that he's named. I'm not too unfazed by Tarpany actually coming from the bench. Once again, I think that's a really good weapon, particularly if he comes on after 20-25 minutes, hitting some of those edge players that Parramatta have. I think he can cause some real carnage by coming on to that right edge with BJ, and probably shifting one of the other edges into the middle. So I'm looking forward to Joe's game. He's been a bit underdone, but as I said, you don't become a New Zealand international by being a crappy player. Joseph's a confidence player. He needs to get the ball early and back himself, and play his natural game and not listen too much of the noise coming around him. His main goal is to get over that advantage line, take defenders with him, and then look for the offload and use his footwork. As I said, there's not many 105 kilos, 6'4" edge runners with the footwork that he possesses, but he just needs to be confident to do it and do it consistently. And the final one for this week, guys, I've gone for our own game. So once again, I just feel that we need to be very simplistic in our approach. Good kicks to the corners, speed. I think we can really burn Parramatta with our speed game, but speed comes from confidence. So we've got to be really solid early. The first 2-3 sets of 6, not be too fancy, get the ball up the field, kick to the corners, good kick chase, the 1%ers, and then we feed and build off that. I think we can grind Parramatta down if we have a really good confidence game and just worry about ourselves and not what those guys are doing, and feed off any errors they make with our own game plan, and really make sure we drive forward in attack and we actually attack with our defence. So we come up quickly, big hits, and make sure that we win that ruck. If we can win that ruck, it's going to be enormous for Hodjo and those other guys to really do their work when we have the ball. So guys, look, that's it for this week. As always, I love your feedback. You can hit me up on Facebook at Bourkeys Top 10. I'm on Twitter at Bourkey Top 10. So look, any feedback, guys, we'll certainly love to have a conversation with you guys. Looking forward to tomorrow's game, big time, guys. As always, bleed green, go the Raiders. This is Bourkey out. Bye for now.